A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For one believes with the heart and so is justified, and one confesses with the mouth and so is saved. The scripture says, no one who believes in him will be put to shame. There is no distinction between Jew and Greek. The same Lord is Lord of all, enriching all who call upon him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how can they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone to preach? And how can people preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news. But not everyone has heeded the good news. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed what was heard from us? Thus faith comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes through the word of Christ. But I ask, did they not hear? Certainly they did, for their voice has gone forth to all the earth, and their words to the ends of the world. The word of the Lord. The responsorial psalm. The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just. The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The decree of the Lord is trustworthy, giving the wisdom to the simple. The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The command of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eye. The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are true, all of them just. The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just. They are more precious than gold, than a heap of purest gold. Sweeter also than syrup or honey from the comb. The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. As Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and his brother Andrew, casting a net into the sea. They were fishermen. He said to them, "Come after me, and I will make you fishers of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. He walked along from there and saw two other brothers, James the son of Zebedee and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets. He called them, and immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So Jesus called the 12. Here's 4 of them in our gospel today when they were called. And eventually, after some discipleship, he sent them out as missionary disciples. Andrew, who we're celebrating today, went to other countries, including Greece, where he was crucified. All of them, most of them went out preaching, not all, but most of them went out preaching to non-Jewish people. Wherever they were sent, they went. Paul, in our first reading, says, we're all sent. We're all sent to proclaim the good news of Jesus. Every one of us, not just apostles, bishops, priests, deacons, religious. All of us are called to go forth and proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ. Because for salvation, you have to hear the word somehow. You have to hear it in order to be touched and moved to follow Jesus. So God depends upon us, and Paul says it clearly, that we're all sent to do that, to make more disciples. So we are all to be missionary disciples. As Pope Francis says over and over again, we're all called to be missionary disciples. So I was just thinking this morning about what kind of little ways perhaps we can do that, even in our own families. You know, it's the smallest element of church is a family. And that's where the teaching happens. You know, we tell our religious education or CCD parents that, okay, we're helping you though. I mean, it's not you helping us to educate your children. We're helping you to educate your children. You have the responsibility of educating your children in the ways of the faith. And we're there to support and help in some ways. So what can we do in our families right now? I mean, how many of us have an Advent wreath right now in our home? It's a very Catholic thing. We could have an Advent wreath, light it before meals or something, or just a special ceremony every day. And it's a teaching moment if we have children, grandchildren, which can even be done on Zoom. You know, you could do these things every day on Zoom. You could Google a prayer for the lighting of an Advent wreath, each candle, and a different one every day. And maybe just get those children or even their parents to just say a prayer every day with you, even if you're on Zoom or something. It's a little teaching. What's this about? Why do we have these candles? What are we preparing for? What are we doing? Lifting up the spirit. Perhaps you have a crucifix in your house. So point it out. Point it out to children or grandchildren and talk about that. Talk about who Jesus is, what Jesus did for them. It's these little things that can make a real difference in a person's life. And that makes us missionary disciples. That's just a couple of ways that we can be that kind of a disciple, to go forth and proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ. Because if they don't hear, how are they ever going to be moved to follow Jesus? So we all have a responsibility in that, every single one of us in some way. So it may not be in the home, it could be at the workplace, it could be, you know, little things, little something on your desk or something, somebody asks a question. You could talk about it for a moment during your break. And, you know, things like that, you know. So it's little things. We could become missionary disciples. Let's think about that today. And when we remember Andrew, a missionary disciple.